Welcome to Generations at Work, where our goal is to build bridges and not walls between the different generations in the workplace. Today, we're going to explore how feedback styles vary from boomers to zoomers and how to build a feedback culture that works with every generation in the workplace. Before we dive in today, if you're interested in leading multi-generational teams, maybe you'd like a workshop to come into your office, to your building, to your organization, or maybe you need some coaching around leading different generations, visit us at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. And also we have a couple extra free gifts for you. Number one, we have a Generations at Work playbook, and we've also created another supplement just for you today around the topic of feedback. And you can find both of those downloadable for free at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. I'm your host, Susan Davis, executive facilitator and coach with Maxwell Leadership. And today I'm excited to welcome our generational expert, Dr. Tim Elmore. With over 35 books, plus a new one on the way, and Tim, I want you to talk about that in just a second. Tim is an internationally recognized speaker who specializes in helping leaders connect with the different generations. Tim, we are so excited to be here, and tell us what we can expect from you coming.
Yeah, well, I am. We probably use this word too much, but I'm very excited
Yay.
about the book that comes out fall of 2025. It's called The Future Begins with Z, and it's on leading Generation Z. In fact, the subtitle is, I love this, 9 strategies to lead Generation Z as they upset the workplace. And we all know young people are coming in full of energy and talent, but
Absolutely.
just different than we are who are over 45 years old. So I'm very excited about that.
So how do they find? They go to Audible and they look up
The Future Begins with Z.
The
That will be
Future
the
Begins with
title of
Z.
the book. Yeah, but that's a great question. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Uh, and then the book itself comes out this fall, and I can hardly wait. We'll have to do some podcasts
Well,
on this because I feel like this is the issue. So many leaders want to get right, but they're not quite sure how to get right. So
I
we're
hear
going to
it
try
all
to
the
offer.
time. It's so
Yeah.
relevant and good timing with that. So we're excited for that to launch. Go get your Audible download, and we'll be excited to explore that a little bit more closer to launch time. Thank you, thank you. Well, I'm excited that we're here today because this topic is so important
Yeah.
around feedback, right? Boomers to Zoomers. What is the difference in feedback among the generations? Now, as an executive coach and facilitator, this is a topic I hear all the time. You know, as leaders, sometimes we want to give feedback. We don't always like to receive it. And each generation, they bring such a unique and really a different perspective around feedback. And I think if we can get leaders really good at not only giving, but and receiving, building that feedback culture, we really can connect them and truly build a powerful culture around each team member. So let's get started today, Dr. Elmore. Sound good? All
Yeah,
right. So
sounds great, Susan.
I was recently working with a client, and he was having a lot of problems with how different people on his team would receive feedback. Some of the
Yeah.
people would say things like, "Oh, you're favoring another person. You give them better feedback than me," and I truly believe it's generational. But I really the manager was a boomer, and he was a tweener between a boomer and an Xer, and
Yeah.
this was for a younger millennial, almost Zer. So how do you just offer support for a manager like that?
Yeah. You're exactly right, Susan. It is a huge issue, maybe the number one issue in terms of challenge for leaders who realize, okay, I've got 4 or 5 totally different mindsets in front of me. So without oversimplifying leaders listening, I would say this really is an issue of chess, not checkers.
Mm.
Remember those 2 games?
Oh,
Check
yes.
and checkers, all your pieces move alike. You treat them all alike. In chess, you have to know who's the bishop, who's the queen, who's the, you know,
Mhm.
the knight. So I would say you got to read them before you lead them. And
Mhm.
in offering feedback, generations is not the only issue that makes them different. It's temperaments and family of origin and so
Yeah.
forth. But you're right, Susan. Generations is a big factor. So older generations, meaning Gen X and Boomers, maybe people, I don't know, over 45 and over, I
Okay.
would say tend to want feedback that's straightforward, to the point.
Mhm.
Keep it real. I mean, that's your generation, Susan.
Yes,
Keep it
that's my
real.
generation.
That's right. Younger generations, while they are just as talented, might be used to a little bit more sensitive.
Mm,
I hope that's not a bad word. A little bit more. Well, here's what the data shows us. The younger the person and what their generation from, the more fragile they tend to show up in a
that's
meeting. And I know that's horrible. Please forgive me if it sounds like judgmental, but it's data. So Gen Z, first of all, wants consistent, almost
mhm.
constant feedback.
Mm.
Think video games where they knew exactly where they
All the
stood
time they're getting it.
every.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. So, and then they want, these constant check-ins that are a little bit more compassionate, empathetic. Do you understand my world, Mr.
Mhm.
Boss or Mrs. Boss? And they're not always sure we do. So I would say coming in with a little more empathy, especially to the younger generations, is going to pay off big time.
So,
Um, I
so
remember one more thought, Susan. I'm
okay, yeah.
sorry. I remember how at one point in my career as a leader, I began to realize this issue is a little bit like parenting.
Mm,
So my wife and I have two adult children, but they are chess pieces, not checkers pieces.
yeah.
And giving feedback to them, we had to figure out very early on, like elementary school age. Okay, Bethany is this, Jonathan's that. If I was going to discipline my son
Mm,
and send him to his room, that was a great discipline because he didn't want to be alone in his room. He
yeah.
wanted to be out with friends. If we told our daughter we were going to send her to a room, she'd go, fabulous. I'll see you
Love it.
Friday. Bye.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good. So anyway, I would just encourage you listeners, read them before you lead them and make sure you're understanding the temperaments of the different generations.
I think that's important. You said the word fragile. I don't think that's an inappropriate word because that's what I hear too.
Yeah.
I hear from a lot of people that I coach or even leaders when they bring this course, generational diversity, into the workplace. I hear that term. I get a lot of my younger team members that are fragile, and so I hear that out in the field a lot. And I like the word empathy. How do we lead them with empathy? Um, how do we give even beyond empathy? What are some other things when you're giving constructive feedback? You know, how do we give that and tailor it more for younger team members who may be more sensitive? And I don't even know if they're more sensitive. Maybe they just want it more. I'm not even sure the right word there, but the word fragile I hear a lot in the field.
Yeah, I do too. In fact, this might be a phrase that's helpful for listeners. If you can
Yeah.
write it down, if you're not driving, write this down. For younger generations, I have found, at least in my experience and in my research, any correction feels like rejection.
Oh,
And you and I both know that's not true.
yeah.
This is normal work. We got to do better and we got to produce more and we got to generate the revenue and add value to our customers. But just know any correction sometimes feels like rejection.
I love that.
So always, I would say this too, always address an issue that is a variable within their control, not out of their control. So sometimes, let me just give you an illustration, Susan.
Hmm.
A boss can be so frustrated, perhaps with a young team member, let's say, that he or she might just vent that frustration
Okay.
and they attack the character of the person rather than a variable that's in their control, like the task they didn't do well.
Mhm.
And that's good parenting too, is
Yeah,
it
yeah,
not? I
yeah.
mean, don't. So make sure you're addressing a variable, something they did, not who they are, and something they can correct or make better or improve, rather than you're just a loser, you're a failure,
Mm.
big L, that sort of thing. You know what? I just thought of something, Susan. One more thing. Maxwell Leadership Publishing is just releasing this summer a brand new book that my friend Jeff Hancher wrote
Okay.
called Firm Feedback to a Fragile Generation.
Oh,
That might be worth going to the Maxwell store and just picking up. In fact, it would be worth it.
yeah.
Jeff and has been working with Mark Cole, our
Hmm.
CEO, and others, and he just lays out an event he does, but it's now in a sort of an encyclopedia, so that might be worth picking up there.
Oh, I love that. And I wrote down if you missed it, if you're driving, because I'm not driving, I wrote down any correction feels like rejection.
Yeah,
And, you know, I think that's so important. And it's, as you said, the Generation Z, you said they want feedback all the time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
what happens, and maybe this is around culture, that we're always giving more constructive feedback
yeah,
versus positive feedback.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
so This is a two-part question I want to ask you, because when I'm
Okay.
facilitating your material, new kind of diversity, making the different generations on your team a competitive advantage. It's one of my favorite courses to facilitate with teams. But I get questions around providing feedback to the different generations.
Yeah.
Two-part question here. Number one is, why does some of the generations want written, right? Others want face-to-face. Some want it frequently. Some want it only, individual. Like, explain a little bit why that is among the different generations.
Yeah. Well, whenever I think about written feedback
Mm-hmm.
or written, annual meetings or whatever, I always think of it's for one of two reasons, and this is just me. But reason number one, um, they just are visual learners, and they feel like I need to see it in print, and then I've got something I can improve upon in my hands if I forget some of that hard conversation I just had.
Mm-hmm.
But reason number two, and this is a good one. I remember sitting down as a young professional with John Maxwell, and he was giving me feedback. John would always verbalize it, but then he'd follow up with an email. And here's the deal, or his assistant would send it. And what I remember is that kept us from turning it into a he said, she said, where we remember something a little different from the conversation. And now it's like a squabble of, I don't remember that. Yes, I do. I don't. I do. And written does help there. So
Yeah.
I think we need to make sure that we tell the person we're giving feedback to, this is not a punishment. This is not an extra criticism. I just want to circle back and make sure we memorize, make it memorable
Make it
to
memorable.
what we just said in the room together. Yeah,
I like that. And the second part of this question, and I think, I'm a Gen Xer. I like frequent feedback, but that's just
yeah,
where I am. But how do you balance that frequent feedback? Like you said, millennials and Gen Z want that more hands-on versus maybe a
yeah,
Gen Xer, maybe a boomer that likes it less frequent. How do you balance
yeah.
that feedback?
So when I look at the four most common generations at work, it would be baby boomers, the people at
Hmm.
retirement age, the Gen Xers in the throes of their career right now,
Hmm.
but post midlife, millennials who are young professionals up to midlife, and then Gen Zers who are the new kids on the block.
Yeah.
Here's a trend that I've noticed. This is a broad brushstroke, but here it is. The baby boomers, if you think about it, they've been in their careers now for 40 years, so they're used to the annual review, once a year,
Hmm.
maybe twice a year, maybe once a quarter, but very rare. And we're going to sit down. It's more formal and it's full documentation.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that back in
Oh,
the
yeah. I do
80s.
too. I do too.
Yeah. Yeah. For Gen X, their script, more or less, there are always exceptions, is just make sure you're honest and accurate.
Hmm.
I don't need fluff. I recognize the compliment sandwich that we always,
Oh, yes.
oh, you're wonderful. Here's the criticism. Oh, you're wonderful. You can see that a mile away. Am I right about that,
And,
Susan?
and and they leave thinking they did two things great and don't remember what they didn't do as well.
Yeah,
Little
yeah,
outdated, little outdated. Yeah,
that's true. So just know with Gen X, you want to keep it very real. Don't exaggerate.
yeah.
And then I do think it's good to say, here's a follow-up to our meeting in print, just in case
Yeah,
you feel like we didn't say that after all, let me know.
yeah.
For millennials and Gen Zers, they prefer something more consistent. And I would say Gen Z has weighed in on surveys we've taken and said, I want daily check-ins.
Okay.
Now, some supervisors would say, are you kidding me? I don't
Yeah.
have time for daily check-in. But just know if they had their preferences, it would be a daily check-in, just like that video game they used to play as a
Mm.
teenager. And I think those daily check-ins need to be, here's how to make it better, not here's what you did wrong. Can I
I
say
lo-
that again?
yeah, I
Here's how to
love
make it
that.
better. Here's not what you did wrong. And again, that's expressing belief in them, not I see
Hmm.
what you did wrong. Susan, do you remember we talked about a zany metaphor, one of our episodes called Surgeons and Vampires?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We tend to offer feedback as a vampire where we
Vampire.
sneak up on somebody and bite them and they never recover.
That.
Surgeons are so different. Think about a
Hmm.
surgeon for just a minute. It seems random. There's a lot of planning that goes into that
Yeah,
surgery that you're about to do. It's a well lit room. Everybody knows what's going to happen.
yeah.
And they don't slice up every part of the body of that
Hmm.
patient. It's just this tumor.
Mm.
I think that's how we need to offer feedback. So it's out of belief,
Mm.
not relief. The vampires are offering out a relief. I'm just wanting to vent and get this off
Just
my
getting in
chest.
there, yeah.
I've been guilty of that. I hate to say,
Well,
but I need to go in as a surgeon. I think that just is a good handle to hold on to
well,
when we think
and don't
about
you
this.
think we're just moving so fast as leaders? We're moving so fast, and one of the things I'll coach my teams is creating that culture of feedback. And it's something I try to get them. I'm like, put it on your calendar. Feedback one person positively a day, right? Make them get in there and get shoulder to shoulder with people so they find the good things they're doing because as you mentioned, I'm seeing this too in the field. The younger generation wants those daily check ins, which is hard when we're moving so fast.
It's so true. And minimally, what that communicates is I'm watching the store.
Yeah,
I'm watching the store. It's not like,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
okay,
yeah, I
this
love
was
this.
on me. This was on.
What if your book had the expert backing it deserves? Join best-selling author Tim Elmore and a team of publishing pros for their next book in a weekend event, happening February 27th through March
Like I don't
1st,
really know or pay
2026
attention to.
Yeah,
in
So I do
Alpharetta,
think that's
Georgia.
great. Let me give
You'll
you
get
a great
expert
illustration of
coaching,
how not to do
insider
it. Okay.
tools, access to publishers and editors, and a shot to pitch your book. One participant will even land a book deal with Maxwell Leadership Publishing. Apply now at abookinAweekend.com. Your story is worth it.
So a number of years ago, our team was having a meeting. It was a full team meeting. So there were lots of people, dozens of people. And one of our brand new team members, 22 years old, just blurted out something that you had to discern she was just wanting to have a voice,
okay.
but she insulted our president. I mean, in front of him, just insulted him.
Yeah,
Well, I started getting direct messages in the chat column going,
mm,
"What?
yeah.
Did she just say that?" You can imagine how the others are
Oh, yeah,
running to the aid of the leadership, say,
yeah,
"What? I can't believe she had the guts to say that." So I went to her direct supervisor and I said, "You need to have a talk with her. I know she meant well, but that was so inappropriate. And we're going to have a little Hatfields and McCoys coming up real
yeah,
quick if we don't take care of this." Well, he was hesitant because he said, "Well, she's right out of college. She doesn't know better." And I said, "All the more reason we need to do this."
yeah,
So, Susan, I got his permission, but I did the confronting. I did the feedback time.
yeah,
Now, given the fact that I have a little experience under my belt, as in 45 years now, I wasn't thinking that any correction feels like rejection. She felt completely
mm,
attacked. The founder of this nonprofit
yeah.
has made this remark to her. So she went to the HR director and
Oh,
said, "I can't believe what just happened to me." And again, I want to feel empathy for every party involved. She wasn't wrong, but
yeah,
this was nothing her professors had ever done for her.
yeah,
I think in college they ought to have firm feedback and straightforward. Hey, let's get ready for the real world that's coming after
yeah,
college. Please forgive me, listeners, but we need to get ready for the world that, yeah, it's hard sometimes. It's not always soft. So I ended up hosting a meeting with our HR director, with her, this 22-year-old, and me. And I said, let's all turn this into let's say what really was said and let's make sure we make the improvement. Here's the point of this lesson.
hmm.
Having a third party in the room was really good for us
That's good.
because it kept it away from, I heard this, well, I said this, well, I
Mm-mm.
heard this, I said this. This HR person is now listening and saying, well, let me tell you what I'm hearing right now.
Yeah,
And it helped us resolve the problem. But it took a lot more effort. And part of the problem was I came from a different generation than she did. So I'll
absolutely.
stop there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now I feel like we could go on and on about this. I'm the same way. I go into feedback looking at how I can get better. I don't look at it as a
Yeah.
negative, right?
Yeah.
But so many people listen, I get my feelings hurt too. I I I
Yeah.
I I get my
Yes.
feelings hurt, but it's because I'm hard on myself and I want to
Yeah.
be better.
No doubt.
But
Susan,
I
you're good. You're good at that. I just want to say that. You're so good at receiving
Right, I
feedback.
want to be better, right? You want to
Yeah.
be better. But I want to transition. Another thing that I will hear is a little bit about micromanagement and how that looks
Yeah.
into feedback. And as we know, micromanagement yields resistant behaviors. But
Yeah.
I'll have a coaching client when their leader's not in the room, right? And they'll just say,
Yeah.
I'm getting this feedback and I feel like my leader is micromanaging me.
Yeah.
How do you handle a situation where feedback is perceived as micromanaging? And I hear it more from the younger generation as well. So older
Yeah.
generation doesn't feel it as much, the younger does. How do you handle that?
Yeah. I'm going to give a suggestion then, Susan. I want you to answer your own question here.
Okay.
So you add to my answer. You're absolutely right. The perception from any generation is you're doing too
Hmm.
much. You're hovering over me. Don't you think I can do this? Do you not believe in me? And that's not what we want to communicate.
Hmm.
So a couple of thoughts. Um, I believe that if I'm doing some what could be perceived as micromanagement, I want to make sure that I'm building some pocket change in my pocket.
Hmm.
Now, let me explain that. It's a
I
metaphor.
love it.
Every time we interact, we are either putting change in our pocket or we're emptying change from our pocket.
Hmm.
And when I say change, I don't mean literal money, I mean emotional change, credibility. When I interact with a young team member, let's say, and I'm affirming what I can affirm, I'm putting a couple of coins in that
I love
pocket.
it.
I'm saying, I noticed the positive that you did. I noticed the improvement you showed me. This is good. I want to have lots of change in my pocket for the not so fun conversations that are bound to come.
Yeah.
And now I got to spend some of that change, right? It's a rainy day, but I'm ready for the rainy
Yeah.
day
The
because I
withdrawal hurts less, right? The withdrawal hurts
yes,
less.
it's so true. And they know if I'm offering some negative, I've done a lot of positives there.
Hmm.
And you've even talked about that ratio. Talk about your ratio of positive to negative. You have a good little rule of thumb that you
Yeah.
follow.
So one of the things I like to talk about the concept, which I probably learned from you, is that feedback bank. And it's just
Yeah,
like, if you can't go to the bank and pull out money that you haven't deposited, well, and
yeah,
if you did, you'd probably get arrested, right? So it's
that's
I think we have to think about this in relationships and
yeah,
feedback. How if you're always pulling out, the bank is empty. And so if I like to tell people around 5 or 6 to 1, so 5 or 6 positives to everyone, maybe constructive. And so people are like, what? But I think what it does for leaders is it forces them to get side by side with their people. And it forces them to go out and look for what are my people doing well? Because feedback is a gift. I really believe it is. And we're either trying to reinforce the behaviors we want to see again or redirect the behaviors we don't want to see. And so I think a lot of leaders miss the boat on that.
yeah. I do too, and that was very well put. Something I shared in a former episode rapidly
Uh-huh.
totally fits right now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please, please.
I love acronyms, and they just help me remember a pattern to follow when I have to do some leadership act. Okay, so the pattern I follow for offering feedback, especially if it's in regard to it may feel like micromanaging. It's that acronym ALEG, ALEG. Remember this, Susan? We talked briefly
Yep.
about this. So if I'm doing something frequently that may feel like micromanaging to that team member,
Mhm.
ALEG is the pattern or the path I follow. So the letter A reminds me start with asking questions, not telling them what they did wrong. So I start with a question, a well-crafted question like, tell me what your thoughts were when you made
Mhm.
that decision. I'd love to hear. I wouldn't have done it that way, but I may need to learn from you,
Mhm.
Josh or Jessica. Okay. So start with ask. And when we ask, they feel valued. Anytime
Mhm.
somebody asks me a question, I feel like, oh, they value my input.
Yeah.
The letter L is listen. So it does little good to ask a question
Yes.
unless we're willing to listen to their answers. So
And be authentic,
active
right?
listening. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Be authentic.
And when we listen, the number one gift we can give them is they feel heard.
Mm.
And by the way, when I say number one, the reason I say that is when Generation Z answers or responds to surveys, they say the number one thing I want from my new job is to feel heard. They want to feel heard from
Yeah.
day one.
Love
So when
that.
you're listening, they feel heard. The letter E is empathize.
Mm.
Again, when I listen, but I don't empathize, that does less good.
Mhm.
So by empathizing, now I'm responding to what they've said and I'm showing them I get it. I
Mhm.
understand. So when we empathize, they feel understood. I might say something like, "Oh my gosh, I bet that made you feel horrible when that happened." Or, "Wow, I had no idea that happened to you last week." So I'm showing them, okay, I get it. I get your life. I get your life.
Mhm.
And now if I've asked, listened, and empathized, now I have earned my right. I put change in my pocket to do the letter G, which is to finally guide them.
Mhm.
And that's something I wanted to do from the beginning, is to offer some guidance. But now I got change in my pocket and I've earned my right to guide them through the relationship we have cultivated, not through the badge I wear on my shirt right now. So
Tim, you just dropped so much gold. I just learned so much. And I think if you're going to be in one of my workshops coming up, you're going to hear this because this is good. So A, asking questions, L, listening, E, empathy, and G, guiding.
yeah,
Love it,
that's it.
love it. And which you may have just answered my last question, but I want to think about as we wrap up today, universal feedback strategies.
Yeah.
Work across all generations. They work with every team member. What's your advice?
Okay, good question. Well, I've got some more handles, some more metaphors that I
Yay.
love. But the first one we didn't touch on, but I think it might be good. If you feel like you've got a team member, listeners, that may have some narratives in their mind that aren't exactly accurate because you haven't talked to them enough
Hmm.
and they want more talk time, the metaphor is dentist and cavities. I believe leaders need to act like a dentist, okay? And what I mean by that is dentists want to fill a cavity in your mouth as soon as possible. And the reason they do is because if they don't fill that cavity, something else is going to fill that
There's
cavity,
something
right?
wrong. Yeah.
Bacteria is going to fill that cavity. So it is with teams. We have mental cavities in our brains. And if you've gone too long between the times you communicate some feedback to people, they're going to fill it with a narrative of their own making. And it may not be accurate. It may not be truthful.
It's going to create a root canal. And who wants a
That's
root
right.
canal?
That's exactly right. To deepen that metaphor right there.
Yeah.
So just know you need to consistently be talking to your people, talking to your
I love
people,
it.
talking to your people, because they're going to fill that mind with narratives that may not be true unless you make sure it's a truthful narrative that you're filling the cavity with. So that would be number one. Another one is one that I call, well, it's a common phrase. You can look it up in the dictionary. It's called Pyrrhic victory. Pyrrhic victory. It's named after King Pyrrhus from ancient Greece centuries ago. And basically, what it teaches us is when the ancient Greeks were fighting the ancient Romans, King Pyrrhus won a battle, the Battle of Asculum. But the reason he was able to win the battle is because he spent a ton of soldiers and swords and shields and even elephants. He spent major, major money and resources to win a battle. And in the end, he felt like he had spent more than he had gained. He
Oh,
won a battle but lost the war.
mm.
We know what this looks like, don't we, at work?
Oh, yes.
In fact, we know what it looks like in our marriages. We know what it looks like in our families.
Yeah.
So make sure you don't win Pyrrhic victories. Before you go to battle and in a feedback time, ask yourself, is this battle really worth fighting? What will I lose
Mm.
if I fight this battle? And if you're going to lose more than you gain, don't fight the battle. It may be a Pyrrhic victory. One more real quick, hot air balloons. Susan, I have come to believe that people in our workplace, on our teams, work a lot like a hot air balloon. Hot air balloons require hot air, okay? In fact, it's usually propane that sends that balloon up.
Yeah.
But unless you keep filling it, that balloon's going to go down, right? So it is with people. If you don't continue to fill them with encouragement, they're going to go down. So I think leaders need to know people are like hot air balloons, and unless I keep encouraging, they're going to go down. People are down on what they're not up on. So you need to keep filling it with that accurate information and accurate encouragement.
Man,
And so I try to do that. Susan, I know you try to do that too.
I love
Bottom
that.
line, do what AI cannot do. AI is going to be full of information. You need to address the soul. And maybe they need encouragement right now from you as a leader, not just an accurate piece of information, which Chat GPT can do, but it doesn't even know right now what they need in their heart is just good encouragement. So I'll stop there.
What an amazing lens. This is such a good lens. So much gold today. This is so good. Thank you, Dr. Elmore. We could probably, again, as I'm saying every episode, we could spend a lot more time in this area. But I want to thank you for all that wisdom. Couple things for our listeners. Number one, go to Audible, pick up Dr. Elmore's newest book, Future Begins with Z, and 2 free resources for you, downloadable at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. We appreciate you being here. We know you have a choice of where you spend your time. If you found this podcast worthy and you want to share it, please share it with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We'd love to speak into the topics you want to hear about. If you have topics, visit us at maxwellleadership.com/generations at work. We want to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.